You're staring at a gambling marker. It's a small piece of paper, roughly the size of a business card, and it says, you owe the Horseshoe Casino $47,000. You're sitting in your chambers, fluorescent lights humming overhead, a framed portrait of John Marshall on the wall behind you, and this little piece of paper on your desk weighs more than every case file in the building combined. You're 51 years old. You've been on the bench for 9 years. Before that, you spent 14 years as a trial attorney, most of it criminal defense, grinding out cases in courtrooms that smelled like floor cleaner and stale coffee. You ran for judge because you were tired of clients who lied to you, tired of prosecutors who played dirty, tired of begging juries to see what you saw. The bench was supposed to be the finish line. $148,000 a year. State benefits, a pension, respect. The problem is, $148,000 doesn't go as far as you thought it would. Mortgage on a house you bought when you were still splitting legal fees with a partner. A daughter at a private university that costs $52,000 a year after the scholarship. An ex-wife who gets $2,400 a month in alimony court-ordered, which is ironic because you are the court. And the gambling, not the glamorous kind with tuxedos and roulette wheels. Yours is uglier. Sports betting, online poker at 2 a.m. when you can't sleep. Weekend trips to the casino where you tell yourself you'll stop at $500 and you never stop at $500. The marker sits on your desk for 3 days before you put it in a drawer. You tell yourself, you'll figure it out. Sell the boat, refinance the house, something. Then Marcus walks into your life. His name is Marcus Devlin, defense attorney, 22 years in practice, nice suits, expensive watch, the kind of lawyer who always seems to know someone. He approaches you at a bar association fundraiser. Not in the main room. In the hallway, near the restrooms, where the lighting is bad and no one lingers. He asks how you're doing. You say fine. He says, he heard you've been spending weekends at the Horseshoe. Something cold drops through your chest. You say you don't know what he's talking about. He smiles and says, relax. Says he's not judging. Says a lot of people in the building carry weight they don't talk about. Then he says he has a client, a businessman, tax fraud case, nothing violent, just numbers on paper. He says his client would feel more comfortable if the case were heard in your courtroom. He doesn't mention money, not yet. He just lets the idea breathe. You tell him, you can't do that. He nods, says, of course, says, forget, he mentioned it. Then he puts his hand on your shoulder and says, if you ever need anything at all, he's a phone call away. 2 weeks later, you call him. You tell yourself it's a one-time thing. The defendant is a restaurant owner who underreported income by $320,000 over 4 years. Not a monster, not a predator, just a guy who didn't want to pay the IRS. Marcus explains that his client would be deeply grateful for a lenient sentence, probation instead of prison time. He says the word grateful and you both know what it means. The mechanics are simpler than you'd expect. Marcus doesn't hand you cash in the hallway. That's not how it works. He introduces you to a man named Ray, who owns a check cashing business on the south side. Ray is the bagman. He meets you at a diner off Route 34, a place with vinyl booths and bad coffee, and slides an envelope across the table during a meal that neither of you finishes. The first envelope has $8,000 in it, all 20s and 50s. The sentencing guidelines suggest 18 to 24 months. You give the restaurant owner probation, a $15,000 fine, and 200 hours of community service. You write the opinion yourself, 11 pages, 3 appellate citations, and a Supreme Court ruling on proportional sentencing. It reads like the work of a thoughtful, independent jurist exercising appropriate discretion. Nobody questions it. The prosecutor frowns, but doesn't appeal. That night, you pay off $8,000 of your marker. You sleep 7 straight hours for the first time in months. The second envelope comes 6 weeks later. DUI with injury. The victim broke her collarbone. Marcus's client is a real estate developer with a reputation to protect. The envelope has $12,000 in it. You suppress the blood alcohol evidence on a technicality you manufacture from the arresting officer's report. Case dismissed. You write the dismissal order at 11 p.m. in your home office, still wearing your robe from the day, as if the robe makes it official. You tell yourself you're not creating injustice. These aren't violent criminals. These are professionals who made mistakes that the system punishes disproportionately. You're balancing scales that were already crooked. This is the math you do. This is the story you tell yourself so you can eat breakfast in the morning. 6 months in, you've cleared $62,000, paid off the casino marker, caught up on the mortgage, bought your daughter a used Camry for her birthday. When she hugged you and said you didn't have to do that, something in your stomach turned, but you held the hug and told her she deserved it. Your courtroom reputation is spotless. You're known as a tough but fair judge. You sentence drug dealers to the maximum. You lecture repeat offenders. You once made a 19-year-old carjacker cry during sentencing with a 6-minute speech about wasted potential that got quoted in the local paper. You do this on purpose. Every harsh sentence you hand down to someone who didn't pay is a wall between you and suspicion. If you're tough 90% of the time, no one notices the 10% where you're not. Marcus brings bigger cases. A contractor who bribed a city inspector. A pharmacist accused of fraudulent prescriptions. An investment advisor facing wire fraud. The envelopes get thicker. $15,000, $25,000. One envelope has $40,000 in it, held together with 2 rubber bands. You develop a system. You don't deposit cash into your bank account. You use it for groceries, gas, tuition, payments and money orders purchased at 3 different locations. You install a small safe in the floor of your closet. Under a section of carpet you cut and replaced yourself. At any given time, there's between $20,000 and $50,000 in that safe. You check it every night before bed, the way other people check their door locks. A year in, you've made $174,000 from envelopes, more than your judicial salary. You've declined 2 cases. Once because it was too high profile, and once because the defendant had a prior violent felony that made leniency indefensible. You have standards. They're warped, but they exist. Then Marcus brings you the Cortez case. Eduardo Cortez, drug trafficking. 14 kilograms of cocaine seized from a warehouse on the east side. Cortez is the money man. Wire transfers, shell companies, bank accounts in his wife's maiden name. Marcus says Cortez's people will pay $200,000, half before the trial, half after the acquittal. You sit in your car, in your driveway for 45 minutes after that call, engine off, staring at the garage door. This isn't a tax cheat. This isn't a drunk driver. This is a drug trafficker. Real weight, real product, real consequences on real streets. If you do this, you can't pretend anymore. You do it. The first $100,000 arrives in a duffel bag. Ray brings it to your house at 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. You unzip it on the kitchen table. You've never seen that much cash in one place. It doesn't look like money. It looks like material, like fabric. You put it in the safe, and the safe barely closes. The trial lasts 8 days. You suppress 2 pieces of evidence on procedural grounds. You sustain 14 defense objections you'd normally overrule. You give the jury instructions that are technically correct, but subtly weighted toward reasonable doubt. Day 8, the jury comes back not guilty. The prosecutor stares at you. You don't look away. You tell yourself the jury made the decision, but you shaped the room they decided in. You built the house and told yourself you didn't control who walked through the door. After Cortez, things change. Not in the courtroom, in you. You stop sleeping through the night. You start drinking. Not a lot. 2 glasses of bourbon, 3, but every night, in the same chair, in the dark, you count the cases. There are 23 now. You know each one by name, by charge, by dollar amount. They play in your head like a film reel with no off switch. You stop going to the casino. You don't need to gamble anymore. You've traded one addiction for another. Except this one pays. Then the journalist shows up. Her name is Dana Chen. She works for the state's largest newspaper, the kind that still has an investigative unit. She's been running a data analysis on sentencing patterns across the county. Conviction rates, sentence lengths, dismissal rates, broken down by judge. Your dismissal rate for financial crimes is 340% higher than the county average. Your average sentence for white-collar defendants is 62% below the mean. She doesn't have proof, she has patterns. And she files a FOIA request for every case file you've handled in the last 4 years. You call Marcus. He tells you to stay calm, says patterns aren't evidence, says the important thing is to stop. No more cases, no more envelopes. Let the numbers normalize. You agree. You open the safe and stare at $73,000 in cash and understand that stopping doesn't undo anything. 3 months later, the FBI opens an investigation. They've been listening to Marcus's phone for 6 weeks because one of his other judges made a mistake you didn't make. He deposited $30,000 in cash into a personal bank account. His bank filed a suspicious activity report. The FBI traced it to Ray. Ray's phone records led to Marcus. Marcus's phone records led to you. The wiretap catches you on a Tuesday. Marcus calls and says he has a friend who needs your advice. You say, I told you, we're done. He says, this one's different. You say no. He says, think about it. You say, I've been thinking about it every night for 6 months, and the answer is no. That call, all 47 seconds of it, is recorded on a federal server in a building you'll never see. They come for you on a Thursday morning, at your home. 2 agents, both younger than you, both wearing dark suits that look like they came from the same rack. They knock. They show you a warrant. They're polite. They call you Your Honor, racketeering, bribery, and obstruction of justice. You sit on the edge of your bed and think about 23 cases. You think about the restaurant owner, the drunk driver, Eduardo Cortez, the 14 kilograms. You think about your daughter driving the Camry you bought with drug money. They let you change. You put on a suit, not because anyone asked, because you've spent 9 years putting on a suit before you decided someone's future. The habit is burned into your body. You knot the tie the same way you always do. Your attorney tells you the government has wiretaps, Ray's testimony, and sentencing data that a forensic accountant has turned into a 90-page exhibit. You can go to trial and face 25 years, or cooperate and face 6 to 8. Cooperate means giving them Marcus and every other judge Marcus ever worked with. You think about Marcus putting his hand on your shoulder in the hallway. You cooperate. The judge who sentences you is a woman named Audra Blackwell. She's 4 years younger than you. Hearing your own biography narrated in that flat judicial tone, the same tone you've used 1,000 times, is the strangest thing that's ever happened to you. 7 years. A cell that's 6 feet by 9 feet. A mattress that cost the government $11. Your law license is revoked. Your pension is forfeited. Your name, which used to appear on brass plates and election ballots, now appears in a federal database next to your inmate number. Your daughter visits once a month. She drives the Camry. She doesn't ask where the money came from. You don't know if that means she doesn't know or doesn't want to know, and you're afraid to find out which one it is. In the county where you used to preside, 14 of your 23 cases are reopened. Eduardo Cortez disappears. His house is empty. His accounts are closed. The warehouse on the east side is a furniture store now. Dana Chen wins a journalism award for the series. In the 3rd installment, she writes that the system didn't catch you, math caught you. Numbers on a spreadsheet, assembled by a reporter making $54,000 a year, revealed what 9 years of judicial oversight never did. You serve 5 years and 8 months with good behavior. Your daughter picks you up on a Tuesday. She's driving a different car now. She doesn't mention the Camry. You sit in the passenger seat and watch the road and think about 23 names you'll carry for the rest of your life. Right now, in a courthouse somewhere in this country, a judge is sitting in chambers with fluorescent lights humming overhead and a problem their salary can't solve. A defense attorney is approaching them at a fundraiser. An envelope is being prepared. A number is being written on a slip of paper. The courtroom looks the same from the outside. Wood paneling, a flag, a seal. The words carved above the door still say equal justice under law. Behind the bench, the math is always running.